Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Throat Punch Thursday.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready?
It's Throat Punch Thursday, bitch.
Love giving him a nice, chop to the larynx. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Mike is on his way, so he told me to let y'all know, be nice to me. I know that I'm here by myself right now, but he's coming, so, he's got my back. So, y'all, let's have a good time. When he gets here, let's make sure we have plenty of comments. If you're tuning in live, that's 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on Rumble, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the program. Let us know what you think about our topic if you got something to say. And we will do our best to make sure that our audience get a chance to hear what you have to say. Now, let me say this, because I had a chance, I think it was yesterday or the day before, someone left like a long diatribe of a comment. Let me just say this. If you do that, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just not. I'm not going to take up the whole show reading something that you wrote for me. So to read. So that, if you got something quick, something pithy, go ahead and do that. But otherwise, no. Anyway, folks, but yeah, Mike's going to be here real quick. So we're going to take care of kind of a lot of the subtleties, a lot of the little things that we need to get done. One of those, which by the way, actually isn't really a little thing, pretty big thing actually, and that is a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. They have rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase. So if you're looking to rebarrel your current rifle or you're looking to do a brand new home build, they are the place to go to. Just go to hitmanindustries.net. You will find whatever barrel you are looking for, including a Glock barrel. So check them out today. Once again, hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all level of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. And then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters at hogholsters.com. That's Hog Holsters, HAWG holsters.com. Whatever firearm you have, whatever setup you have, whatever optic you have, whatever lights you may have on your firearm, trust me, they've got a holster that will work for you. So once again, check them out at hogholster.com, and remember to use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right there, and you're getting a nice little discount on us. And then finally, it's that time, folks. It's summertime. People are looking for outdoor stuff. They're looking for warm weather gear. But who knows? When we hit winter, you'll be looking for cold weather gear. Maybe in the fall, you'll be looking for wet weather gear. Whatever it is, they have all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. They have a huge selection. They have competitive prices, fast shipping, veteran owned and operated. Just like I said, check out uscombatgear.com. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's program as we discussed. The first thing we're going to talk about here is going to be, well, the cost of the border crisis. Now, I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to lead again with another Kamala Harris story or a Tim Walz story, although we got some. But I don't want to lead with one. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting a little tired of talking in depth about people who, quite frankly, should be talking in depth, about people who should be doing radio or TV, who should be doing media interviews, who should be telling us exactly what they want to do when they are leading this country. But, evidently they're not going to be doing that until this evening. And we got one of the things we're going to be talking about that. We'll preview the CNN Harris discussion. We've got Razmik is in the house once again. Thank you, sir, from Sacramento, California. Tuning in, chiming in, and letting us know what's up. We are so happy to have you with us. But our first story today has to do with the border crisis. And one of the reasons why this is so personal to me is because, well, the state that's paying the most is the state in which I live, and it's no secret. That's the state of California. It's the place you ought to be, and evidently those who are crossing the border are coming to Beverly. There was an article that I will be referencing for this conversation. Let's see if I can get to it here real quick. There's an article, and this is in the New York Post. And according to a group called FAIR, they are estimating that it is costing U.S. taxpayers about $150 billion. Well, let me clarify. It cost $150 billion just last year in order to assist and take care of illegal immigrants or those who have come into our country illegally. Now, it doesn't differentiate between those who have entered through the southern border or those who've overstayed their visas. It also doesn't distinguish between those who were here before the Biden administration or currently. But we do know that of the 20 some odd million that are here, around 10 million of them have come in the last 3 years. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. If there are 20 million, so in other words, they're trying to tell us that about maybe a little more, maybe a little less than half of those who have entered our country illegally have done so in the last few months. I mean, the last few years, in the last 3 years to be specific. During border czar Kamala Harris's term. Anyway, let's read a little bit about this. The migrant crisis is more than costly to most Americans. Last year, taxpayers shelled out some $150 billion in government services and support to help 20 million illegal migrants in the country, according to a study from the Federation of American Immigration Reform, or otherwise known as FAIR. And most of the cost is borne by state and local governments, meaning the federal government's failure to do its job and defend our southern border is costing local taxpayers. Now, the people that it's costing the most are the people who live at the southern border, right? The cities and the counties there at the southern border, the states that are at the southern border, and sanctuary city municipalities. Now, I happen to live in a state of California where we are both. We are a sanctuary state and a border state, and so we're dealing with it. We're dealing with the cost big time. And I wanted to get down here to kind of show you. It says here, okay. According to FAIR's estimates, the estimated 1.45 million illegal immigrants and children in the state. Oh, I'm sorry. This is in the state of New York. In the state, cost taxpayers nearly $10 billion in 2023. While most states' accounts of migrant expenses focus on emergency housing and aid, FAIR's assessment factored in the full breadth of state services they draw on while in the U.S. Services like education, medical expenses, law enforcement, legal costs, and welfare are prominent factors in factors FAIR looked at in the study. Those, coupled with the differences in tax revenue compared to expenses, helped contribute to the discrepancies between state reporting and the estimated true cost of housing migrants. FAIR also included the cost of U.S.-born illegal immigrants, something many reports don't factor in. As long as we allow millions of people to come into the country illegally every year, it's obviously going to continue to increase costs, FAIR spokesman told the Post. It says, not a single state across the country has been spared. FAIR projected West Virginia spent the least with the cost of care of migrants and children totaling $33 million. Now, let's take a look at this real quick. I want you to see this. This is the figure that has really got me. You notice what state is paying the most. Look at that. $31 billion in the state of California. If you want to put that in context, this is 2023, where the state of California had a $73 billion budget deficit, and where cities and school districts and counties up and down the state are running deficits. You see now where that money is going, right? We see where it's going. And it ain't going to help the citizens or the taxpayers. It's going to help those who came into our country illegally. Now, let me be clear, and I'll say this once again. I get it. They want a better life. They came here for a better life. I do not blame them for coming. I blame the Biden administration and Democrats for inviting them and providing them with incentives to break the law and come here. Incentives like, oh, I don't know, $150,000 for a down payment on a house, free health care, free education, free cell phones. I mean, the problem is this, is that you have the president saying don't come. Definitely don't come. For those of you who are listening, I'm nodding my head up and down like, yes, come. But they're saying don't come. You have Kamala Harris saying the exact same thing. Don't come. Don't come. You shouldn't come. But at the same time, you then have them from the federal level flying people into the United States, flying them in, hundreds of thousands of them into the United States, flying them in. And then you've got states like California, cities like Chicago and New York that are giving handouts. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you are a Democrat voter, if you're a person who votes Democrat, if you live in an urban community, if you're someone who recognizes that, hey, you know what, we got people in our community who need help, and you're still supporting the people who are supporting these programs and policies, who are supporting an open border, I blame you. You're part of the problem. You keep empowering them. And nothing's going to change until you change, until you decide that it's time to go another direction. Folks, in a couple of years, we're going to have a gubernatorial election here in California. And I will tell you right now, the candidates on the Democratic side are all socialist, Marxist dimwits. Period. And in no particular order do I apply those insults, but they are. The superintendent of public instruction is a dimwit. The attorney general is a Marxist dimwit. The lieutenant governor is a dimwit. All right? The only person that I've heard so far that I think has got a shot, because he's a quasi celebrity, but what I like is he's doing it right in terms of years out, building up a groundswell, building up policy, discussing it, doing it the right ways, talking with conservatives, talking with moderates, focusing on the key issues. And that's Steve Hilton. That's Steve Hilton, the next Republican governor of the state of California, well, may not have even been born in the United States. It's kind of sad. It really is kind of sad, because first you had Schwarzenegger, and then you had, now we're going to possibly have Steve Hilton. But I think we need someone who's focusing on policy, but knows how to talk to people, and knows how to communicate about the issues. But on the Democratic side, I'm telling you, they're all a bunch of ninnies. Yeah, Gavin Mussolini, I'm sorry, Razmik, but Gavin Mussolini cannot run again. I'm not sorry. I'm glad he can't run again. I don't know how he got elected, how he got reelected, but, people seem to think things are going great. At least the people who voted for him are. And by the way, just so you know, when you looked at kind of the way things turned out in the 2022 election, I mean, across the board, the percentages for the statewide offices were the same. It was something like 57% Democrat, 53% Republican, 43% Republican, the Republican got. That's pretty much how it went. The only difference was in controller. And in the controller's race, it was more like 53% Democrat, 47% Republican. And this is with a guy a controller, who got the endorsement of every single liberal paper in the state of California. I mean, this guy, Lon He-Chen could not have gotten any more support. And some people just look R&D. Boom. And that's how they voted. Especially the Democrats. They're just like, yep, nope, check. They got a D next to their name, then I'm voting for them. But anyway, that's how we got to where we are in California. One party rule, and that party, let's just say they're not interested in doing anything to help the people of the state of California. I firmly believe that, and I think their actions, the fact that they keep doubling down and doing the same thing over and over again, their actions tell me that that's exactly where they are. All right, moving right along to our second story. Now, this was a story that I'll be honest, kind of creeped me out because when I heard about this, I'm not sure exactly where in California this is, but I'm assuming it's in Southern California. But you had a group of immigrants, migrants, whatever you want to call them, decide that they were going to try and board a couple. They did this a couple of times, a couple of school buses here in the state of California, and it caused quite a stir. Check out the story.
And now to a developing story out of the East County tonight. 2 school bus routes in the Hamul Dolzura Union School District were interrupted for 2 straight days after several migrants tried to board school buses. Our Sarah Legre has the story tonight.
Well, yeah, there have been 2 migrant encounters in the past 2 days involving school buses and young children here at Hamul Dolzura USD. Now, no one was injured and all students are safe, but parents are angry.
Your initial shock is you're helpless.
It's practice night for Nicole Cardinale and her son Apollo. Hi. It's the ordinary, but their morning certainly wasn't.
20 illegal migrants tried to get on the bus today at one of our bus stops.
Hours earlier, she got this email letting Nicole know her 8-year-old son was aboard his school bus heading to Hamul Elementary when all of a sudden...
Really confused. He said these adults, they weren't kids. He said, but they had backpacks on, Mom, and they tried to get on our bus. He said, and there was a lot of them.
The district confirmed 20 migrants tried to board the bus Wednesday morning when it stopped to pick up students here along its B route. That's when parents and the driver stepped in, keeping the migrants at bay.
It was definitely really scary.
It also happened Tuesday along Route A, shown here in orange near State Route 94. 3 men walked along the highway trying to stop the bus to, quote, go around their group.
When they see a bus, naturally the impulse might be, this will take me to a much safer area.
Pedro Rios helps lead the humanitarian response at the U.S.-Mexico border. He says while it's unclear why the group tried to board Wednesday, heat and mountain terrain can drive a desperate response.
First and foremost, there has to be an acknowledgement by the Biden administration that asylum is a human right.
Parents like Jeremy Adams now demanding answers from the district and a safety plan to help quell fears.
We don't know who these people are. We don't know if they have any criminal history, what their background is.
Meanwhile, the sheriff's office says it's conducting an investigation and says it takes safety very seriously and are working with the school district in order to keep students and the community safe. As far as Nicole goes, she's stuck with the what ifs.
It's just scary that these kids are put into this situation. If those 20 people would have gotten onto the bus and tried to take over the bus, like these kids and the bus driver could have been in real danger.
The superintendent says she's also been in touch with the CHP along with U.S. Border Patrol. She says in the meantime, she's asking bus drivers to go to the next stop if they do encounter one stop that has migrants nearby, and then asking parents to also meet them at the following stop just to ensure safety for both the community members as well as the students on board. For now, that's the...
All right, so first of all, you notice that it's like, well, the Biden administration needs to recognize that asylum is a human right. No, see, this is part of the problem. See, the thing is there are people here in America who believe that because you want something, you have a right to it. And that's just not true. I get it. There are people who want to come here, and it doesn't mean that you have a right. Just like I don't have a right to go. There's a really nice community out here called Lincoln, and they've got some really nice, big, beautiful homes. Well, you know what? I want asylum in their home. But I don't have a right to just occupy their home, just go in their home without the homeowner's permission. And you know how I know I don't have a right? Because they will call the police, and the police will haul my ass out of there. You just don't have... Not everything you want is a right. And people in other countries, they know this. They know this. But they come to the United States, and they know the lingo. Because they've been taught the lingo. What language, what words, what terms, what phrases do I need to do in order to get what it is that I want out of these soft-headed liberals here in the United States? It ain't rocket scientists. You don't have to be incredibly sharp in order to figure this stuff out. But it's now, I mean, you can see instances like this, it's putting kids in danger. Now, I'm not saying that the dude's probably right. They were probably tired. They just saw a bus. There's a bus, get on a bus. The idea of having a bus that goes to school and it's just for kids, it may or may not be something that they're used to where they're from. We don't know where they're from. I can't generalize because they could be from anywhere in the world. But we also don't know where they're from. We don't know who they are. So we don't know if they are there to cause people harm. We don't know if they're going to cause our children harm. We have no idea. And that's kind of the point. I mean, if there was ever anything other than just, and I know we talked a little bit about the cost of illegal immigration, but if there was ever anything that we need to be careful of, it's we don't know who amongst these people are here to cause us harm. I've said this before. Out of 10 million people, if 1% are here to cause us harm, just 1%, you realize that's 100,000 people spread out throughout the United States? That's a lot of people who could be here to cause us harm. And, where are they coming from? They're coming from places that we know people, they don't like us. They're coming from China. They're coming from Iraq. They're coming from Iran. They're coming from Afghanistan. They're coming from Russia. They're coming from Haiti. They're coming from all over the world. Because they know they can just walk right into the country. And we're putting kids in danger. You may not think it. It may not be direct danger for you and your kids right at this moment, but it's happening. And something needs to be done about it. And we know that, we know that this administration isn't going to do anything about it. We know the next administration, if it's the Harris-Walz administration, we know they're not going to do anything about it. Because if they would have done something about it, well, the Biden-Harris administration would have done something about it. Anyway, moving right along, record housing unaffordability under Biden-Harris. And that's the thing. That just kind of leads me back to the other story. Is they knew housing has record unaffordability for two reasons. One, it's because of inflation. And so the cost of everything has just gone up, right? The Biden administration, first of all, cutting our domestic energy supply, but then also flooding the market, flooding the economy with trillions of dollars in money that's backed by nothing. Because, see, we can't sell the bonds. We can't sell the bonds in order to incur debt, so we've actually wound up buying the debt ourselves. I know. It's weird economics, weird economic policy, but the problem is that there's a whole bunch of money out there that has no value or has significantly reduced value. And so that's driven the cost of everything up. And they're the ones who caused the problem. They're the ones who are pushing environmental standards at the federal, state, and local levels that add, in places like California, almost $100,000 to the cost of a single family unit of housing. You want to know how bad the regulations are in California? When the city of Los Angeles, or the county, I forget which one it was, decided that they wanted to build tiny homes for the homeless, they cost $800,000 each. $800,000 each. Did I say each? Each. That means for one, it was $800,000. That is a lot of money. Yeah, crazy. But they didn't do anything about it. And now there's a study out that is verifying exactly what we knew, and that is that under the Biden-Harris administration, we are now facing record unaffordability of homes. This is actually a commentary that's written by Mr. Nolte, Mr. John Nolte over at Breitbart, but I always love his writing, so I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway. It says, home prices hit a new record in June amid an ongoing housing shortage, even as high mortgage rates continued to push affordability out of the reach of millions of Americans, reports Fox Business. The report adds, quote, prices increased 5.4% nationally in June when compared with the previous year, which is only down slightly from the 5.9% pace recorded the previous month. The upward pressure on home prices is making this the most unaffordable housing market in history. Bright MLS's chief economist told Fox, quote, first-time and moderate income home buyers in particular increasingly are being left out of the housing market. The policies of the Harris Biden administration, I like the way they switched that, the Harris Biden administration and the Democrats in general are the sole cause of this disaster. And they are. Quite frankly, they are. In fact, well, let me say, I don't know if I would call it the sole cause of the disaster, but they are definitely, most definitely a significant cause of the disaster. And until we get to a point where we are able to, well, first of all, we're going to have to rent it. Right now, what you have happening is people who are buying homes are people who are selling their homes. And I'll give you an example. Like, if I have enough equity in my house right now that if I wanted to move to a more affordable state, right? If I wanted to move to a more affordable state, I could take the equity in my house and I could sell this house, pay off what I owe on it, and buy another house there cash. And that's the only reason why it would make sense for me to buy another home, to buy a home somewhere else. But the problem with that is the homes are too high. When those homes start coming down in price, the other thing that I'm dealing with, that people are dealing with, is this. Let's say I want to move and, I say I want to buy another house. Well, the problem is that right now I've probably got about a 2.5-3% rate mortgage. Well, why would I trade in a 2 or 3% mortgage for a 7% mortgage? That just doesn't make any sense. And to answer that question a little bit more, we've got our financial expert on the line, Mr. Mike Piwowarski, coming to us from Florida. Mr. Piwowarski, glad you could make it today.
I don't feel tardy.
You don't feel tardy?
I don't feel tardy. Well, there's some.
Did that work when you were in school?
I don't feel tardy. So your home prices, huh? Well, Craig, if you left California and went to other states, the homes are only half the price anyway. So that's really another reason. Why should you leave California? Hell, you could go to Hawaii and probably still make money the way California taxes are going.
Actually, home prices in Hawaii are about what they are in certain parts of California. My point is, first of all, home prices are up just about everywhere, right? And a lot of that just has to do with when you talk about unaffordability, it's not just prices, it's also interest rates. When you have home prices going up and you have interest rates going up, I mean, there are people now who, if they bought a house right now, I want to put this, they could pay twice as much for half the house as they could before Biden became president.
Yeah, no, listen, when I bought my house, Craig, it's been 20 years ago or something like that. It was 6.5%, which was a darn good rate because everything was coming down off of 12 and 13s back then. So when it shot down to 5 and 4 here, it was like, I'm almost done. Why am I going to spend $5,000 to save $6,000? It just was a lot of time to redo it. But we're not talking about astronomical inflation rates like we are interest rates like we've seen in the past, where you couldn't get a home loan unless it was at 18, 19, 22%, that kind. You're at 5 and 6 now. That's completely doable for somebody with a decent job, who's able to rent an apartment for the same amount of money. It's not 6% is not an unreasonable, oh my God, this is gonna break the bank on me.
Well, no, but if I've got a 3%, why would I trade that in for a 6%?
Well, I mean, if you're selling one home and going into another, then you'd have to, because it's another home. But with the amount of money you sell your house and buy the other house, for the most part, you're paying that house off. So there is no interest rate.
Right. Well, and that's like I said, were I to move, that's what I would be doing. When the time comes
Yeah.
that I move, and I will eventually move, but when I do, that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm not going to have a house payment.
Yeah. Very true.
Anyway, moving right along to our next story. Let's see here.
Check your volume, Craig, for me while you're there.
Let's see. Looking here at our next story. Dun dun dun. Oh, preview of the Harris CNN debate. This is going to be an interesting. Or not. I'm sorry, not debate. Why do I have debate? Interview. It's supposed to be an interview. I don't know why I put debate on there. Duh. Anyway,
she'll end up debating
the
herself.
CNN. Well, I guess it's not like they're going to be debating the folks on CNN. It's going to be a bunch of softballs. But so CNN actually released a snippet of the interview where Dana Bash asks Kamala about, well, what do you tell people who are concerned about you switching your positions on issues? And this is what she had to say.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed.
Okay, first let me just say this. She sounded drunk.
That's how she always sounds. It always sounds like she's searching for her next word that's bigger than one syllable. It's always, you notice she didn't answer anything, right? First off, there was no answer to any question.
I'm pointing to my nose as if to say bullseye, right on the nose.
And again, she's looking for an answer, and then she wanders off and ends up back on the yellow school bus story. She doesn't focus. She doesn't have an answer. So her idea of an answer is to we used to say, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, then baffle them with bullshit. And that's what she's doing. She's throwing the beach ball down the hall and let's see which way it goes. And she's going to follow it and just keep talking about it and hope that you get bored. And we'll move on to the next question.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. What was funny to me was she talked about how, well, my values have always been the same. And then she brings up climate change and the Inflation Reduction Act. And I'm like, so what you're saying is the Inflation Reduction Act was about climate change and the Green New Deal, not reducing inflation. I mean, if we were doing a debate or if I were an interviewer, that would have been my next answer. So wait a minute. I thought that was meant to reduce inflation. So you're telling me that it didn't do that? Madam Vice President, when you were Attorney General, before Attorney General, you were District Attorney, you were advocating for a sanctuary state policy. How can you say that you believe in defending the border and you enter into or you support the idea of getting in the way of law enforcement being able to address the illegal immigration status, to even be able to notify immigration when a criminal has committed a crime and is about to be released, won't even let them contact ICE. And by the way, just so you know, for those of you who do, maybe for those of you who don't, people have lost their lives in the state of California as a result of that policy. People have been raped, people have been murdered, people have been robbed as a result of that policy. And Kamala Harris owns that.
Craig, did you catch where, and this is what I'm talking about, where I say she's searching for words that make her try and sound intelligent. She said that she wants to have a deadline, and it's a deadline. This is different, a deadline based on time. Like what else do you base deadlines on, you idiot? It's just,
Mike,
like she came up with the key to the universe. I'm going to have a deadline based on time.
But see,
time moron
is relevant to time. Because see, tomorrow was today, just like today was yesterday. But yesterday is today's tomorrow, or yesterday.
Yes.
Today is yesterday's tomorrow. There you go. I got it. Can I get another drink here?
I'm going to have a deadline, but it's going to be based on time. Oh, well, I thought we were going to base it on yards. I'm sorry.
No, the metric system.
Meters. We have a deadline, but it's 20 meters. What's 20 meters? The deadline? Okay, your limit to some problem might be in feet or distance, but your deadline is based on time, you freaking idiot.
I can't figure it out, dude. I just cannot figure out where some of these folks get this stuff. Why people are so willing to support. And you get people, when you ask them, how can you support her? Well, she's just, the energy, the vibe, the first woman president. I'm like, can I get something else besides vibe and joy?
You know, when somebody tells me that now, Craig, you know what I do? I kick the chair out from under them. just sit there and just lay down on the floor and think how stupid you are. Just don't even start with me.
Just lay there in your own stupidity.
Literally sweep the legs, Johnny. Sweep the legs.
Leg sweep. All right, folks. Well, guess what? That's going to bring us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your hog holster today. Another part of the preview, and I guess they had a chance to take an inside look, our friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news you can count on. Says here, Tim Walsh spends entire CNN interview making balloon animals to distract attention from Kamala Harris.
She knows how to hold that mic, don't she?
Well,
kind of like the way Tim Walz is holding that balloon.
There you go, Mike. Dirty-minded Mike. But, he's there for a reason. He's there for a serious reason. He is her emotional support, Tim.
I've seen a couple different versions of that. Yeah, that's great.
It's a good one. But in the end, really what it came down to, and I think this was what we really saw in this interview. It says, what do you think about my policies? What do you think my policies might be? Kamala Harris asks CNN's Dana Bash during interview.
Yeah. Yep.
And then finally, I know this says DNC, but I'm imagining that this is how Tim Walz is going to enter the CNN interview.
I miss Farley so much.
That man is hilarious.
High is correct.
Oh, well, hey, Mike, before we go, we got a few minutes. Any of the items that we were going to talk about today, you think you might want to conversate on, or you have any comments about it? Border crisis costing taxpayers $150 billion. By the way, in 1 year, by the way, Florida was third on the list. California, though, leading it. Illegal immigrants attempting to hop on a California school bus, and we already talked about affordability. Any thoughts before we do our shout outs?
I did, but you said conversate, so it shut me right down. I can't respond.
I did that on purpose.
Start making up words. You can't start making up words. I'm out.
I didn't just make it up. I made it up a long time ago.
Don't use made up words.
The left gets made up words all the time.
Yeah, they do. Like Kamala, that's not a real word. Who made that up?
Her name is Kamala. Don't you get tired of people correcting you on how to say her name?
It's Kamala, right?
No, they say it's Kamala. Now here's the funny part. My brother's wife, whose maiden name is Harris, also has the same first name. She says her name is Kamala. I asked my wife, because Kamala is an Indian name. I asked my wife, how do you in Hindi, how do you pronounce Kamala? She says Kamala.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so you're telling me that there are multiple ways to pronounce that name, and I'm supposed to be treated as a racist? You're supposed to, well, not I can't be racist. You can. You're going to be treated as a racist if you mispronounce it.
Yeah, you got lucky because like 2 months ago you were racist against her because she was Indian, but now that she's black, you're off the hook.
I'm off the hook. Although on the proximity of whiteness, she still is closer to whiteness than I am, so I can't be racist towards her.
That's right.
So I'm off on both. I'm off on both.
Yep. There you go.
All right, sir. Well, hey, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors before we call it a day.
Yeah, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. If you need some AR barrels, pistol or rifle, length, caliber, whatever it may be, get on over and check them out at hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting the good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Hog Holsters. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters, get on over to HAWGholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. It's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get a nice little discount. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, going outdoor gear, going to the range gear, whatever it might be, you can get everything except the gun at uscombatgear.com.
Hey, Mike, I meant to tell you, my son, and we even talked about it the other day. So my son actually contacted me and said, do I still get my $20? I said, well, you didn't watch it that day. He said, yeah, Mike is probably going to think I'm made up by artificial intelligence. He's my AI son.
Exactly right. He's AI son. Yep. I agree. I concur.
Oh, anyway. All right, folks. Hey, y'all take care. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Free for All Friday. Till then, y'all have fun. Stay safe. And if you get a chance, try to send a few downrange. We'll holler at you later.